Well, hey there, folks. I've got the 83 El Camino in the garage here. And yeah, I know the carburetor's filthy, at least on the outside. It actually runs really good now. I just don't want to spray a ton of carburetor cleaner on there to clean it. But anyway, someone really did a number on the wiring under here, and there's a lot of wiring in here that I mean, it had so much wiring in here, you would think this thing was fuel injection. And I really don't know where all of this stuff would have went. There's just a bunch of it everywhere. And there's a bunch more over there. There's a bunch more I've tucked away down there, zip tied it all up. And usually on a car of this age, especially if you don't need emissions, I would just cut it all out because this thing runs fine with a carburetor with, you know, doesn't need any electronic controls on it. It's like these temperature switches that open the vacuum, and I don't know, probably controlled something there. That's not the temperature gauge. The gauge is on the side of the head. But anyway, so I went ahead and loomed a lot of the stuff and electrical taped it, kind of tucked the stuff away, made it look a lot cleaner than it was. I doubt if the oxygen sensor on this car is even doing anything anymore, but it's on there. You know, and they only had like 5 different types and colors of wire all tied together with tape on them, and it was ridiculous, all hanging under the car. So the oxygen sensor is that gray wire. Not sure if you could see it. It's right under the battery wire. Anyways, I shortened that. I cleaned all that up. So I'm not ready to cut all the wiring out from under here yet. I just want to kind of leave it and tuck it away. I think that's the best thing for this car. This here I showed in another video. I don't know what they were thinking. They actually cut the steel fuel line right here, and it actually touches. It's a clean cut. Like, couldn't they just undo the nut right there? I don't. Anyways, they had a hose like twice this long, and it was all kinked. I don't know what they're thinking. So now I just have a correct hose, and the lines actually touch each other in there, so it's not kinked, and it's going to run just fine. I don't know, man. You give, I don't know, I guess you give tweakers enough time, and they'll just destroy anything. And then I cleaned up some more wiring over here. This was a mess. This here, I re-loomed it, and I just tucked the plug away right there. That's for the AC compressor. So when we get to hook that up, we'll have that. And then this little plug's on the same loom right here. That's for the idle up solenoid for when the AC is engaged. So that's all there. I did take the rod off for the cruise control. Just going to hold on to that till we get around to doing that at a later date. And I went ahead and rewired and loomed the temperature sensor and also the oil pressure sensor. Boy, because that was a freaking mess, let me tell you. It was way longer than it should have been, and it had just bare wires everywhere, all taped together with duct tape. But anyways, the new one's down there. You can see the shiny thing down there, and that's the loom for it right there, the new loom that goes around there, so it's not going to get caught on anything. And yeah, still haven't put new plugs in it. It's got auto lights it had in there, so at one point, at some time, I'll go ahead and replace the plugs. But I'll tell you, this thing runs so good. I did go ahead and adjust the valves on it tonight, and I always second guess myself when it comes to adjusting valves. And I've got them all where the push rods are nice and tight in there. There's no slop, but I didn't do the final 1/2 to 3/4 of a turn. I didn't do that last step. I wanted to make sure Man, I like to double check everything. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't going to be any valves into the top of the pistons or anything. But I'll tell you what, even though it ran pretty good before, it really runs nice and smooth now. The problem was on this head here, the rocker arms were just loose. They just weren't tightened up enough. So in a future date, I'll pop that valve cover off again, and I'll just give each one their final half a turn. That'll seat it. But as it is right now, it runs really good. I'm actually surprised. These are new spark plug wires, and that last one back there is pretty close to the manifold, so I just wrapped some aluminum foil around it just in case. I doubt if anything will happen to it, but just in case. These wires you buy from O'Reilly's or AutoZone, they're kind of like a one-size-fits-all almost. I don't know, they're kind of cheesy, but they're new anyways. So I got to put that back on there, don't I? Okay. And yeah, I put the new heater hoses on there because someone had garden hoses on there. Can you guys believe that? They're all swollen. I got some new heater hoses on there, and radiator hoses look fine. They both look good. They're not messed up. And all I got to do to her now is I'll go ahead and get 2 new belts on there because those belts are definitely dated and old. So I'll just go ahead and buy 3 belts. Go ahead and throw one on the AC compressor as well. So when I get around to putting the lines on it and charging it, it'll already be on there. And got a new bolt for the exhaust manifold there. It was missing one. Thank goodness it wasn't broke off in the head. Went up to Big R and got a grade 8. And let's see. That's really about it. But yeah, I just wanted to clean her up under the hood for the kid. I didn't want to have all these wires hanging everywhere and rubbing all over the exhaust and moving parts. So definitely a lot better now. Let me go ahead and stick the air cleaner on there real quick. So this air cleaner actually sat too low for that stock quadrajet carburetor. And the bottom here was rubbing on the little choke mechanism and probably the accelerator pump too, and who knows what else. So now that I've got it raised up, it doesn't rub on anything. I just took a piece of 4-inch ABS pipe and took my heat gun and I had to add a little piece here. It wasn't big enough, but I formed it on there. So now it pushes it up that far, and we don't have any more problems. Let me get this on there. You can see how that hat fits on there now with that little spacer I made. There you go, folks. That Summit racing equipment there, that, gives it 20 more horsepower, right? I've never been a fan of these air cleaners. I know that's what everyone used to run, but I always had Fords. I always had Mustangs. Anywhere from 79, I had a 79 pace car, 82 GT, 83 GT, had 2 83 GTs. My wife had 83 GT, had 85 GT, all the carbureted ones back in the early days. And, we used to throw cams and heads and exhaust and headers and, blah, blah, blah. But for the intakes, I got off track there. I never used one of these. I always, if the car came with one, I kept it the dual snorkel, the factory dual snorkel one, where the ducts ran out to both fenders, where they had the cold air intakes there. And I always tried to find one of those. And even if, it wasn't a Ford, I would try to find one of those and put it on something else because they had that. And then once they got in the fenders, I'd take all that, junky plastic crap they had in there, and I would just run big, duct, like a dryer duct, metal, dryer duct, and usually run it down to where the fog lights were. If it was a GT, take the fog lights out and run it right in the front, so you had all that air going both those intakes. And I did the same thing on my 85 Pontiac Trans Am with the tuned port engine in there. I, took that air box out and and ran my, it was only a single one on that, but I, cobbled something up real clean, of course, and ran it down with the high flow filter, and then from there had a big duct down there too, just to, in one of the fog lights, just to get all that air, all the air I could. Because these things, I mean, this thing doesn't run hot. It's not going to make any difference for this engine, but all they do is suck up hot air under here. That's why all these cold air intakes you see these kids running, they're not cold air intakes. They just suck up hot air under the hood, unless you have one that's, custom built for the vehicle. It has a baffle. It's totally separated from the engine bay. It's got weather stripping that touches the hood, and then you got a place where you get cold air. But anyways, that's it, man. She's cleaned up under here pretty good. I'm pretty happy with her for the kid. Got the wiring all cleaned up, so just wanted to show you guys. Sorry I talked too much. Yeah, folks, I listen to Coast every night that I'm out here. They got Doc Wallach on there tonight. He sells all kinds of bunch of nonsense that's going to make you healthy. All right, yeah, I'll be good.